Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're going to go ahead and kick off our PTO general meeting for the junior high here. I'm Jason DeMac. So we'll go ahead and stand, do the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is back that way. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thanks. Go ahead and have a seat. So we do have a nice jam-packed agenda today, but I try to keep our general meetings not too long. So our first part of the morning, we're going to go ahead and bring up the school board. So those of you who are watching us on video, if you can't hear us, I apologize. I did what I can.
You want to come here?
Yes, if you can come over here,
Good morning.
face the computer and the cameras, that would be great.
This is high tech, man. Love it. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Ballot. I'm president of the school board.
Oh, sorry. My name is Melissa Weiss, and I'm the vice president of the school board for this year. Sorry. I'm so excited to see people I haven't seen.
On the school board, we have 5 members, Melissa and myself, and then Mr. Mercurio, Mrs. Adamak, and Mr. Evans. We're all elected to 4-year terms that are up for re-election every 2 years. So we do have a board election this fall. Both Melissa and I are on the ballot for the school board. At a high level, what the school board really does is we are responsible for only 2 employees in the school district. That would be the superintendent, Mr. Forstogel, and Mrs. Weber, our treasurer over there. As far as teachers and building administrators and the rest of the staff, they report to Frank and Beth. So from a board interactions, we do hire and fire and evaluate the superintendent and treasurer. And then our other responsibilities are approving a budget for the school year, as well as upholding the mission, vision, and value statements of the district. So those are high level what the board does. We do meet every other Wednesday, I should say the first and the third Wednesday of every month. The morning meeting is open to the public. It's more of a work session, and then typically the majority of our public work is done on the Wednesday night meetings, the third Wednesday of every month, 7 o'clock over at Green. We encourage and welcome any residents to come. There's a section where residents can participate and ask questions or ask for more information or give a statement to the board as well. From a financial aspect, the board has made a contract or a commitment to the community that we will maintain our operating expenditures at 2.5% on average over the course of 5 years. And I'm very happy to say that we're well within that. We're considerably under the 2.5%. I believe we're in year 3, is that right? We just finished year 3? Yeah, we just finished year 3 of that contract with the community. We will maintain that at 2.5%. Part of that is also that we won't come back to the community and ask for an operating levy. Within 5 years was our original statement from the 2016 levy we had. So that would put us up to 2021 before we thought we would potentially have a need to come back to the community. Based on the success we've had in keeping our expenditures down, we've now been able to extend that out to 2022, and it's the hope of the board to push that farther into 2023 or 2024. It's still hard to say these years, even though they're not that far away. We're committed to being strong fiscal stewards of the community's money that the community members do entrust us with to run and operate the school board and have the high academic successes that we've had. So.
Great. I can talk about all the fun stuff. So, as you all know, the board tries to come to at least one PTO meeting a year to talk to you and give you some updates. And we did come to a PTO meeting, I think we did in the spring. We were in the maker space right off the cafeteria. So that was nice. It was kind of a small group, so we could just kind of have an informal conversation. But I wanted to just let you all know some of the updates that we had over the last year within the district. And the 2 that I would like to highlight are the renovation of the high school of the science department. So 2 summers ago, we did the 2nd floor of the science, part of our science building, which included our chemistry and our physics classrooms. And this year we were able to do over the summer in a very compressed time frame, the first floor of the science part of the building, and included the biology and forensics classrooms. So if you get a chance, I mean, your kids are going to be there really soon, and they'll benefit from having those classrooms. There's a lot of collaborative spaces, and the work environment is just phenomenal in talking to the teachers. The other thing that I wanted to just highlight that we've done over the last couple of years is bringing some mental health services into all of our buildings. As we know, students are under a tremendous amount of stress, even starting at younger ages. And from the leadership of Mr. Forstoffel and other district leaders, we realized that this was something that we wanted to address sooner rather than later. And so we partnered with children's hospitals and have brought some people into our buildings to help assess students and get them the help, the students as well as the families, the help that they need. So that program we're very proud of as a board to endorse. We're open to questions if we want to take some, or I didn't know if you guys wanted to start talking about the...
Not that, if anyone has any questions. The only other thing I forgot to mention is you can contact any board member through the school directory. It's just our last name and first initial at sycamoreschools.com, sycamore.org.com. So we're happy to answer questions via email. You can find us on the website. Go to the staff directory or the board page, and you can reach out to us with emails. Happy to get back to you. The board meets with parents if they have any concerns or issues and listens to them and sees what we can do to investigates what we can do for resolution of the topic. So we're open anytime for emails or reach out to any of us, and we're happy to talk to you.
And we're glad that you're here because we know that a lot of work is done from PTO parents who put in the effort to make special activities for the kids and opportunities for our students, and we appreciate that.
So one of the major projects that we're working on is master facility planning. That's the next presentation by these wonderful people over here.
I brought extra if anyone needs one.
So if you have any questions outside of master facility planning, happy to talk about that now. And then if you have questions on master facility planning, let's let them give their talk, and then Melissa and I are happy to answer them after that. Yes?
I have a question. Does the board only address concerns that directly impact the schools, or do you address concerns for like the new sports programs, for example?
When you
Because
say
they're not really directly affiliated with the district,
Right, so we would not, like SAC basketball or
Right.
GSSA, we would not address those concerns.
Okay.
If it was a junior high athletic team,
Got it.
then we would address those
Sure.
concerns, but we have no affiliation.
with them.
No, yeah, they don't fall under our authority.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You guys are an easy crowd. No more questions? You're all more excited here about master
I know.
facility planning. This is much more exciting than board work. So, again, reach out to us if you have any questions. Happy to help you guys with anything. I have a junior high daughter in 7th grade as well, so I'll be at some of the PTO meetings. Feel free to stop me and grab me if you see me. Happy to talk to any of you at any time.
I only have a 10th grader now and one that's started the first year of college, so proud Sycamore grad, so only one. All right,
Great. Thank
thanks
you.
so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good job. So now I'll go ahead and have Superintendent Frank go ahead and talk about the master facilities planning and the levy, upcoming levy.
So good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Are you going to make me stand right in front of this thing because I like?
Well, I know you like to move, so that's why I got this
You'll
one.
follow me.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I get started, first of all, I want to thank you for a couple of things. One, thank you for trusting us with your kids. We work every single day to do everything we can to take care of your children. It's important to us. And then my other thank you is thank you for being here today. That shows me a lot of things. One, you're interested, you're invested, and you're involved. So I'm very grateful for that as well. We want to take some time today to, again, come back to this community and continue the conversation about a critical decision that's coming up on November 5th. And as you know, when that day comes, this community will have a choice. And the choice is hopefully to give us approval for the master facility plan that is before them. What I want to say before I get into some of the details of it, and I'm not going to get too deep into the details because we've done a lot of that over the last 2 years, is I want the community to understand that we've taken our time with this. We have spent upwards of 3 years being very deliberate and strategic about what this plan is. And I'm going to kind of give you the high-level benchmarks of that 3-year journey. But I think the overarching takeaway from that is we've done our homework. And we've been very careful with how we've gone through the process of assessing what we believe we need for the learning environments for our kids moving forward. But we've also done something else that I was firmly committed to when this started, is that we think we've done a really good job of engaging the community throughout this process. And there were two specific phases that I'll review with you in a moment where we've done that. I've done about 40 different sessions over the last 2 years to really get in front of people and explain, but also take questions and take concerns. We've done a lot of virtual things, social media things, to really hopefully get people engaged in this conversation. Here's the next one, right? As we lean toward November 5th. So what I'd like to do, and Beth will kind of walk me through this a little bit. So as we think about when we started this journey, we started it in about the spring of 2016, where we really kind of stepped back and we thought a little bit about, we need to get some really good data on the status and the conditions of our buildings. That was district-wide. It just wasn't here. And so we did what we called a master facility assessment, where we really dug into the guts of our building and kind of got a feel for what the condition of it were. And we did that in 16. We updated it about a year and a half later. So we have a ton of data on that. And we've shared that. If you go to Master Facility tab on our website, you can see some of that data. So we got all that data, and some things resonated with us as we got that data. We got some issues with some aging facilities, one of which you're sitting in right now, right? But we had other issues too. So we started to work through that a little bit and figure out, okay, we've got all this data. What was our next step? So we felt it was important for us and really incumbent upon us to get out into the community and say, here is what we've learned, okay? So we did in the spring of 2018 a series of community engagement sessions. We did some really big public ones. We did some ones at schools. We did some ones with some of our targeted groups. I think we did about 20 of those sessions. We did some social media. We did some live streaming. And we just tried to educate the community on what were the issues. Here's what we found out from our assessment. And so we did those sessions about an hour long each time. But at the end of each one, we did this. After we built the foundation and informed people, we said, now that you know what you know about that assessment, what would you recommend that we do? And we actually did kind of an online survey. You could do it by your phone. How many of you did that? Anybody remember? Awesome. Great. Thank you for doing that. And so we took feedback from the community. And here's what we learned. Here's what the community said. Based on what they heard or learned, they said 72% of the people that really hopped into that survey, and it was, I think we did upwards of 1,000 people got into that, 72% we should replace the H-crane. Now for those of you sitting here, you've recently been in that building, so maybe you can connect that a little bit. 87% said we should replace this building right here, while you're living this building right now with your kids. Okay? And then the other piece of that was 73% said, well, don't replace the high school, but there's some needs over there that we think you need to renovate it. Okay? So we took all of that information. Okay? We took that feedback, and it really resonated with us that there was some sentiment in the community that we needed to do something. So we started to think a little bit about that. So once we had all of that data, we started to think, okay, now we've got some information. But we had some overarching questions that we learned, and we wanted to make sure that we got through to people. One, we've learned through all of our sessions that our community likes their neighborhood schools. So if you've been in the district for a while, you've either been in Montgomery, Mapledale, Blue Ash, or Sims, people like those, and they really weren't interested in us doing something different that got in front of them, and that's a good thing. We wanted to make sure that with everything we did, we were responsive to what our community was telling us. And you're going to hear me say that quite a bit. Of course, this is our core mission, right? Strengthen programming of our educational offerings for kids. Regardless of what we do with the facilities, we wanted to make sure that they enhance what we do for your kids in their classrooms. That's critical for us. So we also learned a lot about Addressing needs for some preschool. We have preschool in the district. Any of you had kids that went through our preschool program here? You did. Thank you for that. We have preschool opportunities, but we're restricted by the amount of space that we have. Typically, our waiting list for kids getting into our preschool is significantly long. So we wanted to kind of make sure that we were sensitive to that. Well, as you know, we've got full-day kindergarten, but we have to cap some of that based on our space limitations, right? And so we've had to do that. So whatever we did with an option moving forward, we wanted to make sure that if we decided to expand the full-day kindergarten options, or if somebody told us we had to, i.e. the state, that whatever plan we put forward, we could handle that within whatever facility plan was in front of us. And then certainly everything we do, as Mr. Ballot said so well, we are fiscal stewards of your tax dollars. And we wanted to make sure whatever plan we put forward, we wanted to be sensitive to that budget. So we had these overarching questions, but the biggest one is right here. How do we address facility needs? We've got them. We've got them. You're living one. The assessments told us that. The update of the assessment continued to tell us that. We've got to address it. So we took all of that information and we said, okay, what do we do now? What kinds of plans do we think about moving forward? So we worked with a very powerful steering committee that involved a lot of people in this district, and we started to think about different options. Okay? Replace this building, renovate this building, replace these buildings. And so we started to work on a number of different scenarios. We had about 20. But we knew at some point we could not get in front of the community with 20 options. It just wasn't feasible. So we started to whittle them down. We got it down to about 5. We engaged the Board of Education in really deep conversations around that. And we eventually got to 3 options that we felt comfortable with going to the community and saying, give us your feedback on that. Okay? Give us your feedback on that. Does anybody remember what those 3 options were? Anybody remember? I'll just quickly review them. One of them is to keep the current grade level configuration as is. Don't change that. You know, the K4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, with some rebuilding and renovation in there. Another one was to build an early childhood center, right? And that would have taken all of the pre-K and all of the kindergarten on one campus. Elementaries become 1, 5, and we would build a new 6 through 8 middle school and then have our 9, 12 high school. The third option was to build a 5 through 8 middle school, a really big middle school right here. So we walked back into the community last spring and early winter, and we vetted it. Did 20-some sessions again. Did a lot of surveying. And here's what we learned. Okay? 1, people like what we have. They like the K4, they like the 5, 6, they like the 7, 8, and they like the 9, 12. Within that option would be to replace this building, replace green, renovate the high school. Okay? The 5, 8 scenario that I just mentioned had some negatives in it. Can you imagine what those were? 5th graders with 8th graders, right? That raised a little bit of concern. That middle one had some positives, but also had some things. People like that early childhood, that we could expand that, but what they were concerned about is bringing them all onto one campus, because it goes back to the love of neighborhood schools again, right? So it connected there. So we took all of that data, all of that information, well over 1,000 people gave us feedback on that, and we worked with the Board of Education, and we took that option 1 and we tweaked it just a little bit. And here is our option. So Beth? I'm going to tell you the option, and then it'll pop up. There's several columns on it. One is rebuild. So the option in front of the community right now is to rebuild E.H. Green, rebuild the junior high. There it is. Okay. And then there's also a component that would have us build a new stadium on the campus of Sycamore High School with the provision that's been clearly communicated. We will only do that if we raise half of the cost of that new stadium privately. Cost of that is $5 million. we've committed that we will only move forward if we raise $2.5 million privately. Okay? If we can raise more, that's great. But if we don't raise that, we will not build the stadium. Okay? So that's the rebuild component of it. Okay? The renovate portion of it is Sycamore High School. Keep the high school, but with some significant renovations to academic spaces, some athletic space renovations to really get that high school up to a 21st century high school. Okay? And then we're going to hop in right here with Sims Elementary and the preschool piece because they are so connected. Okay? So we learned from this concept testing that people wanted more opportunities for preschool. And here's where we tweak this option a little bit. So what we're going to do at Sims Elementary, if the community gives us approval, is we're going to add classroom spaces onto Sims Elementary. We're going to add classrooms onto that building. Okay? We're also going to be within that building, we're going to renovate the current classroom spaces because those classrooms are too small. Okay? All right, and then we're going to repurpose some space over at Blue Ash Elementary. There's a wing that we used to share with the university. Okay? And we're going to repurpose some of those classrooms into early childhood classrooms. As a matter of fact, we've already done that. Okay? We've done 2 of those already. Okay? What that's going to allow us to do is have more expansive options for early childhood in this community at both ends of our district. Okay? Yes?
Is the preschool government funded?
No, it is not.
So there's no financial incentive for us to expand pre-K?
The incentive for us is we get our earliest learners in
Sure.
quicker. That's the incentive.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. Okay? So we will do that. This opportunity or this plan allows us, if at some point we expand full day kindergarten, will allow us to have the space to do that. And then the other pieces of it with some of our new elementaries, our 3, we're going to do some upgrades to those. Primarily to get their classrooms up to speed with more flexible furniture to really marry the kinds of learning that we want to do. So that is our plan. Okay? That's what the board has put in front of the community, and that's what we've been talking about. So we've worked through that plan for almost 3 years to get us here. And I think it solves or answers most of the overarching questions that I just shared with you. Okay? All right, so that's the plan. Now, what's that going to look like? Okay? Let me just show you some very initial concept designs. Okay? Because you might want to know, okay, if you're going to build a new junior high, where's it going to go? If you're going to build a new green, where's it going to go? But before I do that, actually it's there, what I need to tell you about is process. Let me just share a little bit about process. If the community gives us the approval, we will then kick in to a very extensive design process, right? We're going to engage staff and students and parents in helping us design these new spaces. I'm not equipped to design them, okay? We want the people that are connected to those buildings to help us design them, okay? So that'll take 12 to 18 months to do. And the building teams, the building principals have already begun to form their teams, okay? So let's take a look at just kind of conceptually where these new facilities or renovated facilities will land. So if you look, this is Sims Elementary, you see up here. You've got some bullets down here that I've explained. Basically what we're going to do, if you see something white on these designs, that means they're going to be new portions of that building. So we're going to add classrooms here, here, and here to Sims Elementary. If it's gray, that means there's going to be some renovation to it. We're going to renovate those classrooms at Sims Elementary. One of the things that we heard throughout our process is that drop-off and pick-up line. Anybody parent at Sims? It doesn't work real well, does it? So we're going to redo that a little bit to kind of adjust it so we have a better flow of traffic. Okay? Now, some of this is real tentative yet, but this is our initial look at it. Okay? So that's Sims. Let's flip to green. Okay? Here's what green's going to look like, or at least where it's going to look like. One of the things that we talked about throughout this process, and I think it's just prudent work to do, is there anything in the buildings that you've got moving toward replacement? Is there anything you might want to preserve? Okay? We did that both with this building and green. And so we looked at green, and we have 2 areas. You're familiar with these. We've got 2 gyms, and we've got a cafeteria. that were added onto that building, I think, in the early 2000s. Okay? At least one of the gyms was. So they're relatively in decent shape. We believe that if we put some renovation dollars into them, we will preserve those. Okay? We'll preserve both of those gyms and the cafeteria, put some renovation dollars in, and then the rest of the entire building will be attached onto that. Okay? So you're probably thinking, okay, see where right now green kind of rests right in here. The newer building will be a little bit back, deeper into the campus a little bit, and it will come up to be a 2-story building. Okay? You'll notice that we're going to be sensitive to the spaces around it, i.e. fields and walking tracks. We want to preserve that community look if we can. So green will look like that. Okay? One of the things we'll do here is we'll kind of redo the whole drop-off and pickup, and then probably one of the biggest changes is the bus drop-off will come over to the side of the building instead of right in front where it currently is now. Okay? So that's kind of tentatively what we're thinking about. We think that maximizes the campus a little bit better than what it is right now. Okay? All right. Yep.
Do you anticipate then that school would, like the kids would still go to the old school as it is and
Yeah.
that half would be constructed?
Fantastic question. In both Green and the junior high, we're going to be able to be under construction while kids are attending their current school. We think that's a good thing. Matter of fact, we don't think, we know that's a good thing, because when you get into something different, it gets really complicated. Okay? Now, the only place where that's going to be a challenge for us is when we renovate the high school. Okay? Because you can't pick 1,700 kids up and move them somewhere, right? So we'll figure that out. I'll talk about that. Okay? So that's Green. Okay? Let's talk about your building. Okay? All right. So I bet every one of you have been out on Cooper Road at 10 till 8 in the morning, right? Isn't that a lovely experience with traffic? Yeah, it's a mess, isn't it? Well, when you build a building right on a major road, that's what happens. Well, one of the things that we're gonna do is we're gonna build this building a little deeper on your campus here, and we're gonna maximize the way we get cars off Cooper Road to help with that. That was a major thing that we heard throughout of that. Whatever you do with that new building, find a way to limit the traffic jam that we have in the morning. We're going to work through that, okay? So basically, your new building will be back here and will be a new 7 through 8 junior high school, okay? Now, there's some components in there that are really exciting, right? So as we've gone through this a little bit, we started to think, again, back to that, is there anything we wanted to preserve in this building? You're probably thinking, why in the world would you do that? But one of the things that we thought very carefully about was the auditorium. How many of you have kids either in vocal, music, or performing arts here? Okay, you do, right? You know, so to have that performance venue for our 7th and 8th grade kids is an important thing, right? We know that because that is so valued in this community. So a new building, we wanted to work within the budget to ensure we had a space that was right for those kinds of programming and opportunities for kids. So we worked through some analysis. We looked at potentially preserving that auditorium down there, but we really got to the point within the budget that we're going to be able, as part of this new building, to build a brand new 800-seat performing auditorium for our kids. Okay? That's a good thing, right? In addition, those gyms that we have, they're old too. And they're going to go away, and we'll build 2 gyms of comparable size. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So you can see here, we've got some work we got to do here in terms of the design process. But basically, your building's going to be here. This traffic flow will get better. One of the things that we've communicated is, as you know, we've got the bus compound there, right? We're trying to find an alternative location for that, because if we do that, that even opens up more possibility over here for this campus. So my question to you, if you have 5 or 6 acres that you'd like to gift to us, I'll take it. I'll take it. Okay. Because that's what we need. We need about 5 or 6 acres that we can relocate the bus compound. Because right now, where things are at, all the buses, 70-some buses, it really complicates things. So we like to get it off this campus. Okay? So there you are. That's the junior high. Okay? Yes?
Hi. In the design of the new building,
Yeah.
will they be more accessible for wheelchairs?
Absolutely.
Kids with disabilities?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, that's prime goal number one. Yeah. And you know, I got an interesting question today, and we've been communicating this throughout all of this process. Is the question was, Frank, what are you going to do in the new buildings or renovated buildings about safety and security? You know, that touches all of our hearts, right? And I said it'll be an overarching consideration as we put these together. We will never lose sight of our need to make sure our buildings are secure and our kids are safe. So please, please know that, okay? That'll be part of the design process. Yes?
So why 2 stadiums?
Great question. So one of the things that we thought about, first of all, when we got into this analysis, we looked at this stadium over here, and we did some work on what it would take for us to renovate that stadium, to get it back up to high school level standards, our league standards, and the cost estimate to do that was $4 million. A lot of work needs to be done at that stadium. The alternative to that is you build a new one for $5 million and you put it on the campus, okay? But remember now, that's only going to happen if we get 2.5 in private funding. If we're able to accomplish that, okay, the junior high kids are still going to need a stadium, right? But it can be a scaled down stadium, because if you've been to a junior high event, track or football, first of all, the number of spectator seats is significantly reduced. You don't need that many, okay? So we'll put a little money into that stadium to get it up to junior high standards. We don't need to do anything with the turf or the track because that was just replaced. That was kind of our thing. Yep, makes sense? All right, so here's the high school. Coming? Here it looks right here. Anybody got kids at the high school? Okay, do you like that circle drive, that drop off in the morning? We're gonna work to try and change that, okay? Because that popped up as well. So we've got some ideas about changing the new entrance to the high school. Right now, we're thinking maybe back by the athletic entrance there where the bus ramp is. You probably think we're gonna do with the buses. Well, the idea right now is to have a whole new bus drop on the other side of the building to kind of separate cars and buses, okay? So that, you know, we got some work to do on that one, but our overarching goal would be is we got to fix the entrance and the how people get in there and are dropped off in the morning, because right now it really doesn't work too well. So you will notice this building right here is gray, meaning renovation to classroom spaces. Okay, over here would be right now where we've tentatively slated where this new stadium will go, if we get it. And if we're approved, so it will go back on those fields, and then we will adjust everything here to make sure all of our athletes have the right kinds of fields that they need. Okay? So that's kind of a look at what the high school might look like. Okay? So those are basically the 4 main pillars of our plan: Sims, Green, junior high, and high school. Okay? So being sensitive to that, we know that doesn't come at no cost. There's a cost to this, okay? So the total cost that was set for this project is $127.5 million. That's a big number. I get it. But what we'd like to talk to you now about, what's that impact to you as a taxpayer and to me as a taxpayer? I live in Montgomery. So I want to know. I know, but I would want to know what that impact is going to be to my tax bill, whether I pay my tax bill or my taxes are folded into my escrow, okay? So we've done some really hard work to get this where we think it's in a place where people might look at it and say, that seems reasonable, okay? But I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Weber, our treasurer, and she's going to kind of walk you through a little bit of how we work to get it to this point, okay? Beth?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us again. Again, my name is Beth Weber. I have 2 kids in the district. They're both at the high school right now, but I've also enjoyed the junior high just as much as you have, and finally figured it out, and then they went to the high school, which I had to figure out. When Mrs. Weiss and Mr. Ballot were talking with you earlier, one of the things that they made very clear is that we take our financial standing with the district very, very seriously. And so one of the things that we looked at in thinking about the impact on the taxpayer of this bond issue was how could we keep our tax rate, the tax rate that you pay as residents here in the district, as low as possible and very low in comparison to other districts within our community or within our region. We were able to look at some ways of phasing in additional millage to pay for this bond issue over time, as we had some older bond issues that were passed back in the late 90s and a bond issue from Mapledale, as those are coming off, having new millage come in. The overall thing that I want you to take away from this presentation today in terms of the tax implications for you is that this bond issue will increase the rate that you pay by not more than 2.4 mils over what you're currently paying now for bonds. So when I talk about bonds, those are those dollars that are used only for facility improvements and facility construction in the district. They aren't used for operations at all. It's just for our facilities, okay? So you're saying 2.4 mils. I'm not exactly sure what that really means to me in my pocketbook, what that's going to mean to me for my mortgage payment on a monthly basis. The cost of this new tax issue is about $84 per $100,000 per year. So you take that amount, if you have a $300,000 house, which is about the average here in the district, you multiply 84 times 3, that would be your annual cost. If you think about it in a monthly allotment, it's about $7 per month per $100,000 of your home value. So again, if you have a $300,000 house, you think about that on a monthly basis, it's $7 a month, about $21 per month per $100,000 of property value. One of the things that we did when we were preparing for this that we're going to show you right now, I think they're going to work, is we put together a couple of videos that we think will help explain how bond issues work for your community in support of the facilities in your school, and also how this is going to impact our taxes over a period of time. This is a 30-year bond issue, so it will be included on the tax rolls for our community for the next 30 years. That's not just for our residents, it's also for our businesses here in the community. They pay property taxes as well. So let's see how these videos go, and after we see them, we can ask any questions.
The Sycamore Board of Education has voted to place a bond issue on the November 5th ballot for $127.5 million. Approval by the community will authorize the district to issue bonds to fund the district's master facility plan. Residents and businesses in the district will pay property taxes to retire the bonds over the next 30 years. So how does a bond issue work? There are 3 components that determine the cost to the taxpayer: bond principal, term, and interest rate.
The board has worked extensively along with the administration over the last 3 years, and the community as well, to determine the needs of our district. But not only thinking about the updates to Novermber, but also thinking about the continued educational excellence for not only our current students in Sycamore, but also for our future learners. The second component is really the term of the bond issue. For this particular bond issue, it's going to be 30-year term, which means over the next 30 years, our taxpayers will be asked to help us repay that debt of the bonds that have been issued. One piece of the component is not within the control of the school district, but is something that we have found to be probably very beneficial for us as we're looking at funding this bond issue, is the interest rate that's involved. So what is the cost that we will have to pay for issuing this debt over the 30-year life of the term? Currently, in looking at the projected rates we will be issuing this debt, it's approved in November, we see a very favorable long-term interest rate environment, which will actually keep the cost down for our taxpayers and our community.
Each year, a portion of the bond principal will be retired along with interest payments on the outstanding debt. The district will levy a property tax to generate funds to make these payments. There are currently 2 bond issues for facilities in place. One approved in 1998 supported district-wide facility improvements, including the replacement of Blue Ash and Montgomery elementary schools. An issue approved in 2010 was used to replace Mapledale Elementary. These bond issues will be paid off in 2022 and 2028, respectively.
Kathy, what's the next one?
So that basically was how bond issues
What is the
work.
cost of the new levy to the taxpayer?
We worked with the Hamilton. So that one basically just talked about how bond issues work. This one is really more focused on what the cost will be to the taxpayer over time.
County Auditor's Office to determine the property tax millage rate that will be needed over the 30-year life of the bond issue. What you will see on ballot in November is a 4 mil bond issue rate. That being said, to minimize the impact of the cost on the taxpayer, we are going to structure the debt so that the cost will be no more than 2.4 mils more than what you're currently paying for taxes. By structuring the debt this way, the increased cost over what our community members currently pay for the issue will be not more than $84 per $100,000 of property value of the home.
Taxpayers currently pay 2 mils in property tax for bond issues. If approved, taxpayers will pay no more than 4.4 mils in property taxes for all district bond issues through 2028. Once the 1998 and 2010 bond issues are retired, the property tax rate for the new bonds will be 4 mils for the remaining term of the levy.
Recognize that our community is so supportive of our schools and work really hard to keep our tax rate as low as possible. Sycamore is 20th out of 25 in comparison to other schools in Hamilton County, along with Mason and Kings, our neighboring districts to the north. If this bond issue is approved, that will change to 19th out of 25. We're working very hard to keep your tax rates as low as possible while maintaining academic excellence for our students in Sycamore.
Hopefully that gave you a little bit more information about the cost to the taxpayers. Are there any questions about the videos or any additional information you need about that aspect of the facility?
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep, sure.
So I have a Loveland address, so I get a lot of chatter about the Loveland levy.
Yes.
And they're looking at an increase of $47 per month per $100,000, but their total amount is only about $40 million more than ours. Is it the business space that we have that keeps ours down a little bit, or what is it that ours isn't as high as theirs?
Yeah, yes. Actually, when you look at one of the issues that Loveland has in being able to get similar dollars to help pay off that debt, the biggest difference between us and Loveland is they're almost entirely a residential community. They don't have the business tax base that we do. And so because of that, we are able to levy a significantly lower tax rate to be able to get the similar amounts of money. That's the same thing for operations or any kind of taxes that we would levy. So we're really fortunate that we have that good balance of both residential and business property in the district.
Businesses don't get to vote.
No, they don't.
They don't.
They don't.
Okay? So, I'd encourage you to think about a couple of things. Lots of places where you can get more information, where you can tell your friends or yourself that if I want to learn more, on our district website, if you go on the homepage, there's a facilities tab. That 3-year journey that I just talked about, a lot of the information is included there. There also is a number of other areas where you can get some information, and that relates directly to our campaign that has kicked off. And we have 2 amazing people here that are going to kind of walk you through that. They're going to talk to you a lot about their investment in this issue coming forward, and I'm sure they're going to ask you how you can help if you're so inclined. So I'd like to introduce Jill Branham and Margot Rapp.
Hi, thanks so much for letting us come today and speak with you all. We're excited to be here. My name is Jill Branham, as Frank said. I am one of the co-chairs for the campaign. My other co-chair, Jonathan Friend, unfortunately could not be here today.
but I brought Margot Rapp with me. She is doing a wonderful job helping us with community outreach and social media. So we're going to just briefly introduce ourselves and then jump into how you guys can get involved and help and support Sycamore. So I will go first. I, like you all, I'm a parent. I have 3 boys in the district. I also have 1 here at the junior high. I have a 7th grader. And I also have 2 at Montgomery Elementary, a 4th grader and a kindergartner. When I was asked to do this was new to me. I have never done something like this before, but really the answer was, it was pretty easy. Like you all, I've seen my kids, well, my oldest go through the buildings, and we left, Montgomery Elementary and then went to the Green School, which was a little eye-opening, and then especially coming to the junior high and seeing the difference in the buildings and how much work really does need to be done, especially here at the junior high. But also I've gotten to see a little bit firsthand at this process that the district has gone through, and to see really how thought out it has been. I was part of the educational visioning team about 1.5 years ago. I think it was spring of 2018, where we looked at what kind of skills are needed for students, and I guess it was 2018, and what did classrooms need to look like for the students to have those skills. So that was just a small piece of this, but like I said, I've really gotten to be part of or watch the district go through this process over the last 3 years, and I've been impressed with how much community feedback that they have got from our community. And not only have they gotten the feedback, but then they've used this feedback to develop this plan. Neighborhood schools were important to the community, expanding early childhood. So they're listening to what everybody is saying. And yes, for me personally, this affects my children, especially my kindergartner, who would get all the benefits. But not only that, I think this is really important. I moved to Sycamore for the schools. Oh, wait a second. I moved here for the schools, which I'm sure many of you did as well. And so I want this to remain a school district that is excellent. Because I think it is an investment in our students for years to come and our community. And I think excellent school district equals excellent home values, and that is important to me as well. The question you just had about other districts, and I think really maintaining that high level, that high quality is definitely important to me.
So I'm Margot Rapp. I'm a parent of 3 kids at Sims Elementary, and my 3 children will benefit directly from this proposed bond issue, and I'm very hopeful that you will join us in voting for this. As I think about parents in your position as already having children here at the junior high, I'm thinking about how when I first moved to Sycamore, our kids were babies. We moved to the Palmettos neighborhood, and there were only 3, maybe 4 other families that had babies, children the same age as my children. And in this time that we have lived there, our neighborhood has exploded with families, good friends that I have here, and I can see how the attraction of excellent schools brings families, and what that means for our community. The neighborhood that my kids get to grow up in is thriving. The fun, Palmettos Olympics, having friends who can take my kids home from soccer, or we can help each other out with watching kids when we have our own activities to do. Knowing from our community organizations, 2 friends here from my church. Again, the attraction of excellent schools to bring families here and what that means for our community is so important to my family. But I think that it is time at this point where we really need to improve the facilities to match the quality of education that our kids are getting here. So I hope that you'll keep that in mind. I hope that you'll join us in supporting this bond issue. And we do have 3 specific action steps that we would ask of you. Do you mind? Thank you. So the first is that we would hope that you would share your support of the bond issue, one, through liking our Facebook page. I know that many of you already do, but if you haven't already, there may be filters here for Facebook, but either when you leave this building today, or if you're able to right now, we invite you to pull up Yes for Sycamore on Facebook, like the page, share the information to the community. Parents here are only representing a small portion of the parents at the junior high and of the larger Sycamore community. So we really need to get facts about this bond issue out to the community. And what it means is, you know, you are influential parents, you're people who care about your children's education, and when your friends and community members see that you are supporting this, that means something to them. We have talked a lot about the fact that, you know, in general, we'll have a group of supporters and we'll have a group of people who are against this bond issue, but there's a large portion in the middle who are undecided, and your influence is really important in that. So again, we want you to please like and share our Facebook information. Visit the website, which is Yes for Sycamore. It's a fantastic website. It has a lot of the information that Frank and Beth have shared here, and that's also available on the district website as well. And then we've just got all of our yard signs in, so if you haven't requested a yard sign, that's at the bottom of the Yes for Sycamore website. You scroll to the bottom and there is a link where you can fill out a form to get your yard sign. They're being delivered currently. We have 2,000, so it's a big process to assemble them and get them all out to everyone. But as we've said, we want to paint the town
Teacher department
green and
interruption.
gold.
The girls lacrosse meeting will be taking place in the cafeteria starting now. Thank you very much.
So the first step, if you can show your support through liking, sharing, and requesting your yard sign.
Yeah. And then really the biggest thing is voting. You know, that sounds simple, but I know all of us get busy, especially the age of your children, in sports and after school activities. Sometimes it's hard to make it to the polls. So we have a stack of absentee ballot applications. I'm gonna pass some that way. Please take one for yourself and for your significant other, or if you have a parent that lives in town that will be able to vote. You can send those in now, and then after October 8th, they will be actually available. So it's kind of a two-step process. You have to fill out the application to get the ballot, and then send that in, and then actually fill out the ballot to vote. If that's not for you, please go to the polls on November 5th and vote for Sycamore.
We need you and your significant other we need your vote to count.
The other thing, so voting obviously is the biggest thing, but the other thing is like Margot was saying, we really need you guys to, you've heard us talk, be informed, talk to your neighbors that might not come to PTO meetings, your neighbors that might not have kids in the district yet, or that are retired. But really share the information, and if they have questions or you're not really sure what to say, you yourselves or direct them to our yesforsycamore.com website. There's a ton of information. There's frequently asked questions. Probably most of your questions can be answered there. If not, there's a space where you can contact us and ask us a question, and we'll get right back to you.
I will add to that, as parents of junior high students in this building, your voice is really important in this. We encounter empty nesters who really don't understand what the conditions of this building is, as well as, we met last night with Montgomery moms of kids with preschoolers and babies who haven't entered Sycamore. I myself, I've only ever been in this room of the junior high. So hearing your stories, even my friends and family members who've been telling me, their experience of their children in this building and why it needs to be replaced is really important in the community. If you're out walking your dog or you're at sporting events, please share your children's experience in this building so that people really understand why this is really needed.
And then lastly, but not, it's very important, so not important that it's last, is we would love for you to volunteer and help us out. We need help still putting yard signs together. We've already started putting a bunch together, but we can never have too much help. And also really walking the community, walking your neighborhoods and helping us canvass and handing out information to people. Might just be putting it on their door or talking to somebody you see outside and just really sharing the information. If you decide that you are willing to help us do that, don't worry, we will give you a fact sheet and talking points, so we will make sure you feel confident going out there. So I'm going to pass this around. Please sign up. And I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions for us? All right, thank you.
Karen, Jason, thank you for the time today. We are open, we want to honor the time of the PTO meeting. We're just grateful that you've given us some time today. And we are available for questions either through our email, if you see me in the building, or call me, whatever you want. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Beth will do exactly the same. So we are anxious to continue this conversation.
I have a quick question.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's say this all gets approved.
Yes.
Where do you start? Like,
Perfect.
And when are we starting and what's the
Perfect.
whole-
Yeah, so let me, if we've got approval on November 5th, then we will immediately kick into the design process, which I kind of explained. And that will be many facets. Each building will have their own design team. There'll be an overarching community design group that will look at the bigger issues. That takes about 12 to 18 months, okay? Once we got that to a certain place, then we're gonna start construction. So the question I typically get is, well, you've got here, Green, high schools, can you do all of those at one time? Yes. We can have multiple construction things going on at the same time, and that would be our intent. So we'll start that right away. So, let's see, what are we, 2019, maybe we start in late 2020, 2021 with all of that. That'll push out to 2023. Again, that high school renovation might stretch out even a little longer because our intent would be not to have to move kids out of the high school while we do the renovation there. So yeah, if you go on our website, in one of the presentations, there's a great, it's kind of a timeline of when all that is tentatively set. It's got bar graphs going through it, and it'll walk you through that. Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you all. Very grateful for your time. Thank you for doing what you're doing here today. Can't wait for Flight Fest, by the way. That'd be great. Thank you all.
Very decorative yard sign.
Yes, I'll add that to my yard sign in my neighborhood. Oh yes, I'm very aware of the City of Montgomery code on signs. Got it. Thank you very much. I will get out of your way. This is my sign.
All right, so we're gonna go fly through the rest of the meeting because I know that I'm sensitive to you guys' time, so I don't like to have these drag on either. So our treasurer's report we will post. Want to click on it real quick? Just for the parents that are new, like me, to the junior high. So the finances and treasury is done a year ahead of time. So unlike any other buildings, the PTO in the district, this year's operating budget was determined last year based on Flight Fest. So that's we'll be coming up talking about Flight Fest. So even though I'm new to the building and just trying to understand how everything's going, I'm already in the process of planning for next year. So as I'm learning, it's just trying to figure out budgets and new projects or anything that we want to be able to bring in. I already have to look for 2020, 2021. So we'll post it. Basically, it's a very tight budget here, so we are very dependent on Flight Fest. So when you guys, I didn't know that, having seen signs and people talk about it in the past, how important it is. So now that I'm here living it, breathing it, I'm going to go push it, and we'll give out a lot of information, and I'll talk about the changes in that. But pretty much that's going to be our bulk of our income because we don't have as many events as we do Green, and then elementary, of course, you feel like you have events every week. So it's not like that here. All right, so the next item is our president's report. So we'll have meeting minutes from, which was, the last meeting was the coffee, so if you're here, there's not much. We'll go ahead and approve those next month.
Yeah, we'll post it on the website. I mean, it's just pretty straightforward. But nothing groundbreaking if you do.
Exactly, it was just an orientation. A lot of new families in the district, which is great. So, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to Ways and Means. So a Flight Fest update. So Diane, our co-chair.
And actually, while Diana's talking, we have a favor to ask. People could help us fold. Erica and I. We are sending out mailers to everyone. Don't keep one because we're going to mail it to you. It's going to go in a business-sized envelope, and ideally, if you could fold it so that the Flight Fest sign is on the top, and we'll put some stacks in front of you. Have fun, fold away, while you listen to us.
Thank you for your help. So I'm Diane Vanderbrink, one of the co-chairs of Flight Fest. We are just over a month away from Flight Fest. The event itself takes place on Saturday, October 19th, but we've been busy planning this. Flight Fest is Sycamore Junior High's major fundraiser. The funds from it go to support the 20-plus clubs and sports at the junior high. And kind of like what Jason was saying, the money from last year's Flight Fest supported this school year's sports and clubs, and then next year's, what we earn this year will support next year's. So all information about Flight Fest can be found at aviatorflightfest.com. On there we have a sign-up genius. We are already looking for volunteers. We need volunteers to distribute yard signs, volunteers the week leading up to Flight Fest, and also at the event itself. That will be live in the S'more this week, this Friday, so make sure that you look there. Also, we have a silent auction. That link is also live, and we are going to be updating it weekly, so make sure that you check in because new items are going to be coming up. Also, make sure that you register your family for the 5K, the 10K, or the additional 2K this year. It's a great way, again, to support your schools. Because we aren't having the festival this year, we actually need 200 less volunteers, so it actually opens up chances for both parents and students to participate in the race itself. I think that's about it. Thank you very much. There are going to be information about Flight Fest will be coming home next week in the mail. So we are calling them flight plan mailers. So parents, look in your mailbox. All information about Flight Fest will be in there. Also, something new this year is we have a scavenger hunt for our students, just for Sycamore Junior High students. The students, with the parents' permission, will download a free app, and then they will go on different little missions, and they complete the missions for points. The students form teams of 3 to 5 students at a time. All of the team members need to be present at the missions. So information about that, again, is in that packet. And I think that's it.
Great.
Registration's open, right?
Yes, registration's
And
open.
that's on that website?
Yes.
Yes.
So yes, information about Flight Fest can be found on the Sycamore School's website under our PTO, also our Facebook. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not part of the Sycamore Junior High's PTO Facebook account, definitely like us so you can follow all the information that we try to help repost there as well. In terms of box tops and household fee donation, just like the elementary schools, you're able to do your Kroger rewards. So if you no longer have a kid at Green, might as well let us have the money, because from the last report, only 56 families at the junior high are taking advantage of Kroger rewards. Don't worry, they're not taking away your gas points. It's just that every time that you shop at Kroger, they'll kick back a percentage back to us. So that would definitely help us in our efforts, especially when there's over 800 students in here, 50-something families participating. We could definitely be doing a lot more. I'm going to look into trying to get, make sure that our Amazon Smile, so if you are shopping, definitely Christmas is coming up. So I know a lot of shopping's done through there. So you'll be able to get Amazon Smile rewards back to us. If you already know how to use that, go to your smile.amazon.com. Every time you shop on there, you'll get a kickback from that as well, if you can find the drop down for Sycamore Junior High. And then we will have box tops. Are trying to go digital, so we still do box tops and Pipkins next door. So keep those receipts. If you'd like to volunteer, I think we're trying to do a program. I think they do it at the high school, where someone actually standing out there volunteer collecting receipts. Pipkins. What's that?
They're looking into it.
So they're looking into that. So that could be an opportunity if you just want to volunteer, have nothing to do, not say you don't have anything to do, but a volunteer opportunity to help us get some money. We'll let you have more information about that as well. So then next would be a report from Gloria, our VP of Programs. Do you have anything?
Nothing so far. Under programs, it's mostly the Aviator Bash, which is not until February. Well, and we had new family welcome, but that went well. Lots of families felt welcomed and got to meet and network, and is that it?
Is staff appreciation under you?
Staff appreciation is under me.
So our staff appreciation team, we finally have filled. So we thank the volunteers that have done that, but we can always use, we have chair people for that. So, but any volunteers are always welcome. I think most of our chair slots for this year have been filled. So as I said earlier, I'm thinking about next year already, so if you'd like to step up and do stuff for next year, definitely let me know now.
We've actually had people sign up already for next year.
All right, awesome.
Staff appreciation.
So there you go. And then corresponding with Secretary Dana, she had a report.
She had to leave, but there wasn't anything.
All right, Erica, anything from our recording secretary?
No, I think we're still looking for someone to be the wellness chair. That committee did not happen last year. So if someone's interested, it's mostly oriented towards providing some wellness-related fun activities for teachers and staff. But you can contact me.
So yeah, so a wellness chair is needed. Once again, you can take the project and run. So we don't pigeonhole you. If you have creative ideas here, we definitely welcome those. As I said, for those of you who know me, for next year I really want to work on putting together a cultural night. So the money raised at Flight Fest will hopefully give us enough funds to do that for next year. So if you want to help a team that I've already put together for that, that will be awesome. And then while the board was here, I forgot to mention that there are 2 board positions opening up.
Can I just go back to the cultural night? I just want to make you aware that we've got an international club here of students, probably about 50 students. Mika Wolford and Daniel Rodriguez are the teacher sponsors, so they can help you in any of that or as we're moving through that. So I just wanted to say that also.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. So as I was saying, the school board, there's 2 board positions opening up. So we did this 2 years ago, didn't think that we would have to do it over again, but there will be a open forum. So there is 3 people running for the 2 board positions. So in October at the Green School again, there'll be an opportunity for the community to come in and watch the forum debate that'll be mediated. So if you have any questions for any of that, that'll be in October, and we'll put out some information on that as well. And,
Jason, who's leading? Where are the 2 board members leading?
It's not that they're leaving, their spot is
Okay.
up for reelection.
Oh, so they're gonna be back on the board.
They are running again, but in the past, it's often been non-contested, like nobody else challenged them for a spot when a spot came open. This
Okay.
year there is.
Yes.
So the 2 board members who presented.
No, not these 2.
They're on the ballot.
They are both up.
They both are on the ballot.
But there's 5
So they're
people.
rerunning. So there's not like a spot open, like someone's
So Paul and
stepping
Melissa,
down.
their terms are up. So, but there's a 3rd candidate,
Brad.
Brad Comerford.
Yeah.
That is
There's 5 people running for 2.
Or 2
5
spots.
people. Okay. So, if you want to get more information or vet the candidates running for school board, that'll be coming up next month. And any of the building PTO presidents are responsible for that night, so you can definitely ask us if you have any more questions about that. Is there any old business to bring up? Any new business? So for our upcoming events, for next month's PTO meeting, mental health is a big area that everyone's talking about now. So
October 7th.
we moved the date, so don't pay attention to the district calendar. We'll try to update it on the district website and on our PTO Facebook. But it's a Monday, October 7th, because we try to be sensitive to holidays. So once again, October 7th, a Monday, will be 10:30 general PTO meeting, and we'll have a mental health expert here. And then, since we have a few more meetings than we did at Green, if you have ideas on presenters, we definitely want to do that. There was talk about, since we did the Tech Week thing last year at Green, that maybe this year, if we can find the funding, or next year, maybe even do something related to mental health, because it does bar more than 15, 20, 30 minutes during a general PTO meeting to focus on the different issues there. So we might try to plan on doing some type of forum or event like that, if it can fit in to our schedule, budget, and all that kind of stuff. possibly in November, maybe Sycamore Bridges will have come in and talk about how that's been going. But if not, just let us know any hot topics that you'd like us to address.
Anytime that people can help with your end of, before you leave, see if there's, if you have a few minutes for stuffing or label sticking, we'll take any hand. We greatly appreciate it.
Also, can I just ask if anyone would like to take one of these signs for their neighborhood or their yard? Take 5, 10, we really love it. There is a, if you do want to do that, there is a restriction. I can just tell you all the 2 main things are keep it 13 feet away from the curb. Make sure you have permission of the homeowner. And these are, this is true for both City of Montgomery or City of Blue Ash, their regulations for signs. And then, if you put it in a business, come see me, because they need to have 12 feet of yard space, and not many businesses have that, but we could put up a poster, like a flyer in their window, if you'd like. So, these are just some new restrictions that came through this year. And if you do have a business you'd like that meet that criteria, you can fill out this application and turn it in. But we do have a permit on file with both of the cities to allow these to be put out. We just ask that if you take some signs, bring them back to the front lobby office the week after Flight Fest. And then these are just expensive. They're about $10 a piece. So you can just see how our budget for Flight Fest can just kind of get derailed by buying more signs every year. So we really love it if we could just bring them back. And that's all. Thank you.
So if you didn't hear that on the audio, go see Megan Bonai.
Well,
if you
at
want
the end
some,
of today, if you're
for
coming
signs,
through
Flight
the
Fest
pickup
signs.
line with your kids at Squirts, those will be available, what time? 5, probably 5 o'clock, that's usually when the sports end. So maybe over by the auditorium area, you know, since you're coming by anyway to pick up your kids, spread the word.
So we'll have
And
Flight
just
Fest
get
signs
these
available
out.
for pickup if you'd like any. And then, right before we leave, we didn't get a chance to do any principals reports, so I don't know if Dr. Ray, do you have anything, any blurbs or anything you'd like to bring up?
The main thing is, first of all, thank you guys for all of the wonderful support you guys provide to our staff and for our open house and those types of things. It was a great start to the school year in our opinion. I like to always open the floor in this meeting for anything that we could have done better, especially those of you who are new to the school coming from Green, so that we can continue to get better and meet your needs for the opening event. So that would be the JH launch, that would be the scheduled pickup, that would be the open house, and the opening day experience that your child had for these opening weeks.
Just general feedback?
Yeah, I'm just taking general feedback.
I thought that I think it was the schedule pickup was very sequential and extremely organized, and kudos and props to you there.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll take the credit, but it's Mrs. Augustine that really has it organized, so, as we all know. All right, at any point, if you can think of things as you simmer on this, you have my email.
I'm sorry, I do have a question. What was the response to the drawstring backpacks for the kids that they can carry to class? Have those been useful? I know that some of them started falling apart the first couple of days. In general, are the kids using them?
That's a great question. Actually, not as many children. When we didn't have that option for them to carry anything on their back, it was a major complaint of parents and children. But since we have offered that, the sales have not been what we have thought. I will tell you that just in my random talking to the kids, those who are using them are liking them and making them feel maybe just a little bit more secure. Especially, it's mainly a 7th grade thing because parents and kids cannot conceptualize until it actually happens that the kids can get to all these places with all this stuff, but it always happens because it just is an acclimation period. We did have some of the bags that started breaking on us. We reached out to the manufacturer and told them either something was wrong or they weren't good quality. They responded very wonderfully. And so if you hear of any child whose bag broke or at any time it breaks, we have extras and we will just swap it out, same color, same everything. And then we are looking next time around to do we wanted to keep it cheap. So we got a cheap quality one, and that is part of it. So next time we're going to go middle level versus the bottom of the barrel, because we only wanted to charge $5. Great question. Thank you.
So I'm going to chime in on that real quick.
Yeah.
So because when Mr. Winkle subbed in last year, and I sat in our first meeting, and I had heard about these bags. So people who know me, I'm all about trying to find some corporate sponsorship. So that was kind of an idea that I brought up. If we could find a corporate sponsor to put their name on those bags, then maybe we can get higher quality bags, and then parents and students might not even have to pay for them.
How much did it cost for all of them?
They're $5 a piece. Well, we charged $5 a piece, and I think they were maybe $1 a piece. And then the proceeds then go to fuel our PBIS. We've got all kinds of things that go on with PBIS. We've got a store. We do a Kona Ice adventure. We're going to have a, God willing, some type of PBIS assembly after the winter holiday.
So you need to sponsor $1,000 to $200?
Whatever type of corporate sponsorship we could find that would help. Basically, they can put their name on there with the Aves logo on there, because they do have to be uniform. So those are the rules that we're abiding by with the school. But we could get stronger bags. You can't get larger bags,
Right.
but at least stronger bags.
Sure.
And then use that money. Like I said, since we operate on a budget for the following year.
I was just trying to get a sense of how much is the sponsor? Do you need to
Well, if you figure that we have 800 students in the building,
800 students, so you
is that
need
right?
about $1,000 sponsor.
I mean, I would.
Okay.
I would-
Anything would offset it, I guess we
Sure.
could just say it like that. Anything would offset the cost, no matter what the
Right.
sponsorship
And if
is.
they're nice bags, the kids will probably end up using them outside of school. So that's more for a company to have their name running around the district. So.
My daughter's complained about them. We bought one. She has stopped using it. The drawstring at the top makes it, with 4 minutes to get from one end of the building to the other, there's no time to undo that drawstring and switch things out. So she's given up already.
That's a good point. One of the things that most kids have gone to, the intent was never for them to fill it with books, but I feel their pain. That's what they want to offset, is to not have to go to their locker as much. The intent was always for them to carry their pencil bag, their calculator. It just, when they have the thing of books and they've got the computer, then they've got all these miscellaneous, their novel, things like that.
We talked about that. I couldn't convince her. But
Yeah,
yes.
but that was what the intent was. Never, it really wasn't for the books, although it is a struggle because they want to not have to go to their locker if it's really far away. That's the downside of the huge building. And we also are running out of lockers that actually work, so we can't get them as close as, I mean, I don't know if you have heard the struggles of the lockers, but you can't even, they're broken, they're so old, yeah.
So another plug for new building and bigger
That's
hallways.
right.
So there we go.
Cheer it out.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you, great feedback. If you think of anything, you let me know. We're here to improve and make your lives and your kids' lives as easy as possible.
Great. So I was able to finish up before noon. So I want to thank the board, the other guest speakers we had today, for school board, and then my own exec board. And thank you all for being here. So have a great week.
Thank you.